John Snell, Nancy Parker, Eric Clemens with sports, and Chief Meteorologist Bob Brett. You're watching Fox 8 News, your weather authority.
When Buddy Diliberto passed away on Friday night, New Orleans lost a piece of its sports heritage. He was a legend in newspaper, on television here at WVUE for 14 years, and then later at Channel 6, and then on to 870 AM, where he served as sort of the city's first therapist on his Point After talk show, helping listeners deal with the often troubling saints. Tonight, his family is holding visitation services at St. Agnes Church in Metairie, and Val Bracey is there.
John, family, friends, and fans are trickling into St. Agnes Church. In just about 30 minutes, they'll start saying goodbye to one of New Orleans' most memorable men. Buddy D will be remembered for many things, but perhaps most for his love-hate relationship with the Saints. Anybody who knew him or even just listened to his radio show will tell you there was no bigger Saints fan than Buddy D, although he never held his tongue when he was disappointed with the team. And you can not help but think about him every time you see someone wearing one of those brown paper bags, which he made famous in 1980 when his Saints went just 1-15. Buddy D will be sorely missed.
I think Buddy Diliberto was the best liked man in the history of the city of New Orleans. Beyond any question, I believe that. Certainly by me. I loved him.
Friends and colleagues of Buddy D are starting a foundation in his name. They hope to have all the details worked out by the end of the week. One of the things the foundation would like to do is erect a statue of Buddy D outside the Superdome. But of course, that will ultimately be up to the state and the Superdome Commission. John?
All right, Val Bracey. Tonight's services will continue until 10 p.m. The visitation actually continues tomorrow morning also at St. Agnes, beginning at 9:30, with the funeral mass at noon. Instead of flowers, the family is asking for people to make a donation to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, 501 St. Jude Place in Memphis, Tennessee, the zip 38105.
On Friday, visitation is underway in Jefferson. Let's join WDSU sports reporter Fletcher Mackel.
That's right, Rich. On a normal Monday, Buddy D would be beginning the second hour of his amazingly popular radio show. But today isn't a normal Monday. Today, family and friends have gathered here at St. Agnes Church on Jefferson Highway to pay their respects to someone who is without question one of the most unique individuals this city has ever known.
There will never be anybody else quite like Buddy. There will never be anybody else that will quite sound like Buddy.
With all those injuries, I mean, it looks like they had a contagious groin injury. In other words, you know, it's almost like catching the flu. Everybody's got groin injuries.
I think he succeeded here where somewhere else he probably wouldn't have succeeded. But that was part of his charm. He was part of New Orleans, and he wore well here in this city.
Joining us now is Dan Radokovic. Is that right?
Well, thanks, buddy. I bet you your name was never butchered like that.
No, that's why I changed it to Buddy D.
Buddy was always around. It seemingly he was everywhere, covering this, covering that, and then all of a sudden he's gone. No, it hasn't set in yet.
The Purdue team is more or less they kind of perimeter oriented.
A little piece of all of us, you know, is gone. And, you know, there's some people that you just, you know, everybody's going to die. You know, everybody's going to go. But there's some people you just don't think about them dying. And he was one of those people. You know, you just don't think about them not being here.
I heard Ro Brown say something today that he never thought Buddy would die. Good guy.
He was definitely a New Orleans original. Visitation goes on tonight until 10, and then tomorrow morning from 9:30 until a burial mass at noon. Reporting from Metairie, I'm Fletcher Mackel, WDSU News Channel 6. Rich?
All right, thank you very much, Fletcher. Nice report there. And of course, we heard from so many friends coming up in sports, and tonight again at 10 o'clock, we will hear from his family, his son, Mike Diliberto.
That was a real treat to sit on the side with Buddy. You never knew what he was going to say.
There's the outpouring of affection since his father passed away.
Rich, the whole family's amazed at how popular I guess he was. We all knew he was popular, but we didn't realize everyone in the city, it seemed like, just really had a fond thing to say about him, and we're very touched by it.
Yeah, Mike's just a great guy. I've known him for a lot of years, maybe better than Buddy, really, and we'll hear more from him tonight at 10 o'clock.
We're going to miss his dad.